Hey guys, welcome in. It is time to get that edge college football, the early edge. Joe Raineri alongside Dave Cokin here, WagerTalk.com, as we embark on week 14 of the college football season. Kind of crazy when you think about it, Dave. Seems like we just started looking ahead and doing these types of shows here, but here we are, week 14. Before we take a look at what's on the calendar here coming up this week, let's talk a little bit about what happened last week, this past weekend, including, and I guess we'll start in a game that you were on in Nevada there, taking on Hawaii in that game. What'd you see there?
Well, I love the spot for Nevada, and
Yeah.
I thought this would be a comfortable win for them, and got it completely wrong. It's simple as that. They a couple of big plays that they just messed up. And that really turned the game. Not that they were dominating at any point anyway. No, it was the wrong side. And so the 5% streak is over. Hopefully the next one lasts another year and 2 months in college football. That was a great run. Hated to see it end, but I'd rather see it end, quite frankly, on a game I got wrong. I just got it wrong, rather than some fluke where, I get beat on some crazy play or something like that, or a bad call. No, it was the wrong side. It's as simple as that. Nevertheless, I still had a winning weekend in football because I swept the board in the NFL, and it's been good. I've had several winning months in a row, and if you're on for all my plays in all sports, you're doing quite well.
Very much so, which brings me, I can't believe here we are, December now, right? And Cyber Monday this week, and at WagerTalk, an amazing opportunity for you guys that are maybe new here, or those of you that have tried Dave in the past, an opportunity for you to get an all access for 6 months, meaning every day, 6 months, every play that Dave has for less than $100 a month. It's $5.99 right now if you head over to WagerTalk.com and go to Dave's page. It's there. It is a Cyber Monday sale like no other, Dave. And for less than $100 a month, Dave, for 6 months to get every one of your plays, it's a pretty good deal.
Well, the strength of the deal is that you get the plays right away.
Yeah.
And you get all the plays. It's a good example of that this week. I played a game today in college football for Saturday based on information. As soon as the information broke, I jumped on it because I knew the line was going to move. I liked the side anyway, but the line was definitely going to move. And this is a game that I'm not going to sell individually. And the reason I'm not going to sell it is that there's no way that if I put the game out for sale, most individual game players don't get the game until the night before or the day of the game. So they're not going to get the line on this game. In fact, even some of the all access people didn't get the line because it did move very quickly. But they'll still get the next best number. If the information holds on the player involved, and I think it probably will, then I think this line's going to continue to go up. And it's just too confusing for me and for the customers.
Yes.
If I give out a game at one price, then it's 3 points away from that by the time the game day rolls around. So I just don't bother to put those games up for sale, but they're strong plays. I mean, this is a best bet.
Yep.
And all access people already have it.
I will say this too.
That's the benefit of getting every play. Plus, I don't sell the golf individually as a rule, mainly because, quite honestly, it just doesn't do that many sales. But the golf matchups have been absolutely fantastic. I think it's
crushing.
28-12 or 29-12, something like that. And I'll have some this week in the Mayakoba, but they're not going to get sold individually. That's just a marketing decision on my part. I'm not going to waste space on something that doesn't sell a lot.
Right.
But they're good plays. So the all access players get all that. They get everything.
It's amazing with Dave's golf plays too, guys. You'll see is that when he does the matchups and he gets a matchup, there's always one guy that manages to play through the weekend and one dude that doesn't. His last round is on Friday, and voila, just like that, you end up cashing a ticket in golf. But
the whole idea is to play against guys. My whole concept in golf is I am primarily looking to play against guys I don't think are going to make the cut.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't want to be playing on the weekends. I want my I would like my decisions to be done on Friday.
Right. You don't want to be sweating into the weekend. And I will say this real quick, guys. College basketball coming up. Also, Dave, just phenomenal in college hoops. Talk about the All Access, Dave. It's never more important to get those college hoop lines and those plays out when you release them, because especially now with the lines in college hoops, they're all over the place. So for $100 a month, guys, $5.99, 6 months. You never got to worry about it. Sweating the line, missing the line, getting the best of the number. Get there right now. Wager Talk today with Dave Cokin. Let's dive into a couple of these games coming up this week here, Dave, and get your thoughts on that. We'll see if we can find any market movers right now. But let's start with this game on Friday. A couple of games on Friday this week. Louisiana at App State on Friday. App State in a very unfamiliar spot here. They're not in first place, and that's thanks to Coastal Carolina. We'll talk about that in a minute. But talk to me about this App State-Louisiana game coming up here on Friday.
Well, the early money's showing on the underdog in the game, and it's a really good matchup in the Sun Belt. Louisiana, I should say App State, the first number was 4. That was a soft opener. What I'll call the firm opener was 3. And it's now 2.5. So the money is showing on Lafayette. Looks like a really close game. I can see the dog money. It's getting to a point now where if you want the dog, it's getting awful late in the game because I suspect this line could drop a little more.
Got to ask you, too, about Coastal Carolina. A team just a couple of weeks ago took care of App State. They just continue to roll. Only this, I think, is it safe to say that this might be the biggest, if not the toughest game they're going to have this week. Liberty is traveling to Coastal Carolina to take on the team here. How do you see this one playing out?
The early money's showing on the favorite. Coastal Carolina just has passed all the tests so far.
Yep.
They've in spots where it looks like, well, boy, I mean, this might be a difficult spot for them. It hasn't mattered. But Liberty's real good. And, one thing to remember is it's not a conference game for Coastal Carolina. It is a conference game. Or excuse me, it's not a conference game for Liberty because they're not in a conference. But it is a conference game for Coastal Carolina.
Right.
I don't know whether that has an impact or not. I know this. It's who would have thought it? But this is as good a game as there is on the Saturday schedule. And, in fact, it's so good that ESPN College Game Day will be at Coastal Carolina.
Yep.
I feel safe in saying this is absolutely the first time they've ever done ESPN Game Day from Coastal Carolina.
Yep. And they're a real team. Listen, we said it weeks ago, Dave. You talked about it. When you watch that team, I think you bet against them once. And I think you were saying, I was wrong. You were like, I was wrong. No, this is a real team. And so is Liberty for that matter. So congratulations on the season.
Liberty's done me good. Actually, I've had Liberty at least a couple of times this year. And needless to say, I've been pleased with those results. Yeah.
Nothing bad to see about either of those teams, but College Game Day, great exposure for both the teams and both the programs. Let's take a look at Pac-12 here. Arizona State had some COVID issues last week. They'll be taking on UCLA this week, Chip Kelly. I don't know that they're going to want Robinson back at quarterback over there. The kid that they had come in kind of lit it up for UCLA. Where's the early money right now on this Arizona State at home game?
It's on Arizona State. Which doesn't surprise me because as well as UCLA's played in the last couple of games, Arizona State is still rated as the better team. So the math guys are going to be on the Sun Devils, priced accordingly, though. So I don't think you're getting a bargain.
Let's talk about the Texas. Actually, before I get to that game, let's go West Virginia at Iowa State. What a strange game the Iowa State game was last week against Texas. I think close to over 800 yards in offense, and we landed in the 40s for a total. Dave, you don't often see that here, but when it came down to it in crunch time, Iowa State delivered, and unfortunately wide left. Texas didn't. West Virginia traveling now to Ames. How do you see this one, or at least where's the money heading?
That's a great game.
Oh, God, yeah.
Iowa State pulls it out.
Yep.
This number has been flat since they opened it. Basically nothing happening with it at all. And it fits the profile of a really tough game because West Virginia hasn't been able to win on the road, but they've played well in a couple of those road games. I mean, the Texas game, they should have beaten Texas at Texas.
Yep.
There's no question about it. Their red zone offense failed them terribly in that game, and that's the only reason they lost the game. And Iowa State did win at Texas. I think 7's a really good number. I can tell you that's a game I'm not going to play. And the market doesn't seem to know what to do with it either because it's just sitting there.
Let's move on to that Texas A&M Auburn game here. And Texas A&M, while they did win against LSU, and LSU had the back door, congratulations there. I don't know that I was as impressed with Texas A&M as I throw my hands up in the air offensively for LSU. They're a shell of what they were just a year ago. And Auburn's, they got steamrolled by Alabama as well. You got two teams coming in here. One everyone is going to fall in love with A&M. I don't know. Auburn at home, where's the early money in this game?
A little bit on A&M. I'm not surprised by that. I had Auburn 2 weeks ago as my 5% play against Tennessee. And maybe it should have told me that I was going to lose one because I got really lucky to win the Auburn game. They were not impressive in that game against a bad Tennessee team that's got all kinds of internal issues. And then they followed it up last week by getting smashed by Alabama. This is not as important a game for Auburn as it is for Texas A&M. A&M still, they're the team right outside the top 4 as far as the playoffs are concerned. So it's a big game for them. And so I can see why the money is showing on A&M. But it's built into the price. Those factors are built into the price because this is a pretty good-sized number.
Yeah. I got to ask you, too, about a game. Last I looked, it opened up at a big number, that being Wisconsin versus Indiana. Now, whether or not they end up getting the game going, we'll see. But Penix, of course, is out. They announced MCL. But, the kid they have behind, he was a 4 or 5 star recruit out of high school. This is not a kid that is unknown. 14 seems to be a big number. What's the early money telling us on this game, or are people staying away?
Well, I think they adjusted the number on air as soon as the injury was announced on Penix.
Right.
And there's been a little buy on Indiana at a couple of the shopper stores I'm seeing. They really priced this one with the injury already out in there. I suspect that this will be one of the games where the public maybe lines up. I don't know if they will or not, actually, before I make that statement. I think the public might. I don't know where the money's going to go in this, to be honest with you. I don't think that people are going to automatically think Indiana's got no chance here because Penix is out. It's a big injury. But, the line's not 4 either. It's 14. And the one thing we know about Indiana is they're a pretty determined football team. If nothing else, this team has some real good chemistry. And I thought they showed it last week in a dead spot against Maryland. And they still went out there and played really good defense and ended up getting the win and the cover. That was pretty impressive, actually. Wisconsin, not sure what they have. They don't have all that much to play for, really.
No.
Because they're not going to make the playoffs. They're just not going to make the playoffs. The loss to Northwestern sealed that fate. They could still the games are still important. But I don't know that people are looking at them and saying, "Oh, this is going to be a real easy win for them." We'll see.
You mentioned Tennessee there a couple of weeks ago going against Auburn. A lot of people thought Tennessee was just stick a fork with them in the whole program, but they have shown some signs of life. Taking on a Florida team here heading into the weekend here. Is all the early money heading on Kyle Trask and Florida at this point?
No, because they've priced it. They priced it real high. I mean, that's a big number at Tennessee.
Whew.
Florida was okay over the weekend. Could have won by a little more if they decided to punch one in. Though they tried actually to punch one in at the end and ended up at the 1 yard line.
Yes.
So, and look, they were the better team against Kentucky.
Right.
They figured to be the better team against Tennessee. Volunteers will finally go, appears to Bailey as the quarterback. So we'll see what he can do. I don't want any part of Tennessee.
Yeah.
But they might be pricing. I think they're pricing a lot of people out on Florida. Good job by the odds makers. They're just not making this easy. They rarely do.
There are some monster numbers too. The Oregon game at California somehow managed to lose that game again. What a strange game. There was a lot of very strange games. Syracuse was very strange. 3 yards rushing. They somehow managed to win the game. You had California in many aspects outplayed Stanford, but pulls away. And then you had Oregon in the fog, loses to Oregon State. Now they got to take on Cal, and looks like 9.5, 10 around that point over there. Any movement in the Oregon game?
Yeah, they're playing Oregon.
That's what I thought.
Look, one thing we know about Oregon, I mean, California now has the game plan. Just run the ball.
That's it.
So I think you're going to see Garbers using his legs a lot in this game, and he's the type of quarterback who could give Oregon trouble. They can't stop the run. And teams that can't stop the run are very risky to lay points with them.
Yep.
Because if your defense can't get off the field, it eventually starts to wear down. And I think that kind of started to happen to them against Oregon State. The thing on the Pac-12, and by the way, California still hasn't won a game, so they're going to be pretty hungry for one here.
Yep.
I'm not in love with the line movement in the game. I think your value is starting to show on California.
Yeah, and it's going to be very interesting. The Pac-12 itself too. You got Washington came back to beat Utah. Utah, it seems to me, Dave, that Utah is a team where they look like they started late and they're still trying to figure out who they are after graduating a lot of upperclassmen last year. And they came out great in that game and then just gave up 24 points there to Washington in the second half, and it was unbelievable. But that's not a bad team, Utah.
No. And Oregon State has the quarterback issue now because he got hurt late in the game against Oregon, and the word is he's good chance he's not going to play. Utah hasn't scored a point in the second half in their 2 games.
Crazy.
So they need to firm that up. But they had some disadvantages last week because they actually were prepping a good portion of the week for Arizona State because that was the game that was supposed to be played. Then Arizona State had the COVID issues. So they rescheduled Utah at Washington. So now you got to focus on a different style of opponent and have to travel. And just got away from them in the second half. They looked great in the first half against Washington. So situationally, I think this is a spot where Utah probably has an edge situationally.
One other team, too. I don't know whether you look at it and you're impressed, Dave, but another one of those last-second switches. Colorado had a game against USC. That was postponed, but they welcomed in San Diego State. And now, don't look now, the Buffaloes are 3-0, and I'm not really sure what to make of this Colorado team.
Well, they're playing well.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't take that away from them. It appears that they were underrated coming into the season. I mean, if it's one game, that's, okay, what's one game? Right. Now they've got 3 games. They're looking pretty good, and Arizona's not. Arizona's living down to expectations, if you want to call it that. 3-0, 0-3, no movement in the game. It's sitting at 7, and again, that just looks like the right price.
Is there any other games that stuck out to you here early on in the week, Dave, as far as the market movement? Anything head-scratching to you?
Not to me, but I'll go through some of the numbers and let people know where the early money's showing. It's Georgia's getting play against Vanderbilt, which fired their coach. So even at 33.5, that wasn't high enough. It's going to 35 now.
Wow.
I think you'll start to see Clemson money. I don't know that it's showing yet, but I expect this line to get up to maybe 23 or 24. So if you like Clemson, you need to get that one, I would say, pretty quickly. Let's see. Let me go down the list here. And I always do this. I've got my screen in front of me. And that way, games that I might have forgotten, I can start to pay attention to as we do this rundown. Penn State's starting to get play.
Ooh.
The numbers guys continue to play Penn State, and they finally won a game, backing them against Michigan. And they're getting play against Rutgers. Not sure what the Rutgers quarterback situation is. You might want to keep an eye on that. So that is contributing to the line going up. Georgia Southern's getting play against Florida Atlantic. This line's actually moved quite a bit. It was Pick'em, and it is now Georgia Southern 2.5. So I wouldn't think it gets much higher than that. But Georgia Southern definitely getting the early play in the marketplace. Central Michigan is missing their quarterback, but it's not impacting the line at all. It opened 1.5 as the firm opener, and it's still 1.5. So the backup played well for Central Michigan in their comeback against Eastern Michigan. So I think that's convinced some people that there's not much of a drop-off from Richardson to the backup. I think his name is Bowen or Brown. I can't remember. But he looked pretty good last week. And he was a quarterback at, I think, Sam Houston State before he transferred to Central Michigan. Kent State's gone from 2.5 to 3.5. So it's gone through a key number in their matchup against Miami. That usually indicates some solid support from the market. Utah, as we mentioned, has jumped, but that was coinciding with the information that came out this morning.
Right.
Let's see. A little money on Washington. It's from 10 to 11. Nice comeback by the Huskies last week.
It really was.
I don't know how. Those are tough games to read because they were really bad in the first half of that game. And I don't know whether the credit goes to them for coming back or whether you have to blame the other side for folding it up in the second half. Those are always confusing. Yep. Oak State's getting a little play on the road against TCU, 1.5 up to 2.5. And Toledo is getting bet down, actually. That opened 11, and it's now down to 9.5. So there's some money showing on Northern Illinois, which has been at least competitive, showing some signs of improvement. And I think that is just about it. I might have missed one or two, but that's close enough.
Anything on the Nevada game? I think they're taking on
just
nothing. Just sitting right there. Yep. Going to be interesting to see where that goes as well. And as far as this week, Dave, goes, what have we got up at WagerTalk right now?
Just the one all-access play in college football. Perfect. We're not putting the plays up as early as a rule because we're getting so much late information and cancellations. It's, that's just welcome to 2020. But there's college basketball now every day.
Yep.
I'll have the golf this week, and I don't think I'll have any baseball.
Not yet. Give it a little while, though. You absolutely will. That about does it here, guys. Bottom line, all access pass, Cyber Monday deal all week, $5.99, 6 months. Every play of Dave's, 6 months. You can get it for less than $100 a month right now at WagerTalk.com. So that'll about do it as we embark on week 14 here of the college football season. It's your early edges. Make sure you drop by and see Dave and monitor all week what he's got going on at WagerTalk.com. Dave, always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks for the time and good luck this week.
See you next week, Joe.